Hey, welcome to Armchair Athletes. I'm Reno,
I'm Ed.
and this is the NBA preview where we talk about my list of teams from worst to best. Right now, we're at number 17 with the Utah Jazz. How we look like last year, Ed?
All right, Reno. Well, last year the Jazz had a pretty decent season. They went 44-28 in the regular season. That was good for the sixth seed in the West, where they lost Game 7 to Denver after blowing a 3-1 lead.
A 3-1 lead. That's crazy. And we'll talk about the Nuggets later. But they came back from 2-3-1 lead. That's amazing. Also, Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs showed out.
He did.
Donovan Mitchell has potential to be the best shooting guard. Him and Devin Booker have the potential to be the best shooting guard in the league in one day. Probably in the next few years, probably the next 3 years. I think they're going to be one of them is going to be 1A and 1B in terms of two guards. We've had a depletion of really good shooting guards for a long time, and now we're getting a few in, and that's really exciting. Um, Last year they had honestly a kind of an underwhelming season with their big offseason the year prior. They traded for Michael Conley, which was supposed to be the piece that was supposed to help Donovan Mitchell expand his game. That way, Donovan Mitchell can play off the ball more and focus more on scoring than running the offense because he's not a point guard, he's a shooting guard for sure. He's while he can pass and he can play make for others, he has that ability. He's not bad at it at all. He's better when someone else dictates the pace and he scores off that. They also signed Bohan Bogdanovic from the Pacers. He performed really well for the Pacers. He's a sniper. He was a decent defender, and he could score inside and out. And uh, and so they had a lot of optimism coming in, especially with Joe Ingles, and they had Rudy Gobert. They traded for Jordan Clarkson, which I like that trade a lot. They gave him a spark plug off the bench. But it was a little underwhelming. Bojan was injured most of the season. Michael Conley did not play well, at least not to like Michael Conley standards.
Yeah.
Who's basically been an all star his whole career, even though he's never been an all star. And then Rudy Gobert is what Rudy Gobert is. I think people need to stop thinking that Rudy Gobert is going to be more than what he is. He is a defensive stopper. He is the best defensive big in the game. When it comes to the pick and roll defense, he can guard both in and out, unless Nikola Jokic plays for the other team. Which, in his defense, Nikola Jokic can score on anybody. So, but offensively, he's very limited. Does not have any form of jump shot. Doesn't have a post game. Just like a little baby hook if someone's a foot shorter than him. So, uh, they kind of had an underwhelming season that was riddled with injuries and an underwhelming performance from their new point guard. Quinn Snyder did his best. I really like Quinn Snyder, the head coach. He did his best on kind of getting what he can out of the team, but it was really Donovan Mitchell show last year.
Yeah. Let's also forget that they're the reason why the NBA shut down.
Freaking Rudy. He's so good at defense. He blocked the whole he blocked the whole he blocked the whole league from playing the game for like 6 months.
All right.
There's
Let's
talks of them trading Rudy because of it too, because Donovan was so pissed off. I mean, I would also be pissed off
Yeah.
if my teammate was that stupid. Because Rudy freaking licked all the dang microphones in the press conference.
It was so bad. That's a bad
House,
look for him, though. I kind of feel bad for him because I know he was doing it just in good fun. I mean, at that point in time, we didn't know the severity of this thing, and you can't blame the guy was just joking around. But
who jokes around by licking stuff? No one goes around joking, licking. That's not a joke. That's weird.
look, I
That's
didn't
not.
say
Is
it was smart. I'm just saying, like,
that a French thing?
I don't know, man. It may be, it may be. Let's talk about the
Anyway,
offseason a little bit, Reno. What'd they do? You talked a little bit about it, but kind of explain.
so they did not do much. They re-signed Jordan Clarkson, which they're giving him about 12, 13 million a year, I believe, for a six man. He's never going to start for him. I didn't like that signing, to be honest. I think if they didn't sign him, another team would get him for half the cost, about $6 million a year. Derek Favors, they used their entire mid-level exception for Derek Favors, about another 14, 15 million for a backup center, which I would get if they were going to trade Rudy Gobert and have him start as their center. But they extended Rudy Gobert this offseason too. So I don't understand their their intentions. I did think they needed a backup center because whenever Gobert got off the court, their defense failed. And Derek Favors is a really good defensive center, and he's a decent scorer, and he's a good rebounder. He's not a bad center at all. I just wouldn't pay that much money for either of these guys to come off your bench.
Yeah.
Derek Favors could be a solid starting center on the right team. I don't see Jordan Clarkson starting for any team. I think he's going to be a career six man, and I think he got a little overpaid. So Derek, especially with an offseason that had so many centers on board. They had Nerlens Noel was signed by the Knicks for like $2 million. He could have got him and stuff like that. But they spent almost $30 million in those two bench players right there. They lost Tony Bradley, which is just a young, raw center, and Ed Davis, who really underperformed a couple years ago when he played for the Nets. Ed Davis played really well, and then last year he did not play that well.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about this draft pick and going on the theme of centers. Udoka Azubuike, they drafted. He is 6'11", 260-pound center from Kansas. Start off, like I said, he's 7 foot, almost 7 foot, 260 pounds, but he's a lean 260 pounds. He has a 7 foot wingspan as well. So he doesn't have, he can't really reach everywhere, but he's big boy. He is going to he has great strength, which will be great. And I think he is going to be the backup, or not backup. He's going to be the replacement for Rudy Gobert. I don't see why they would extend him, sign Derek Favors, and then draft Azubuike. Maybe they thought that they weren't going to get a center in the draft, so they brought in Derek Favors just in case. But again, I don't really understand them there. He developed into a pretty good, decent role defender throughout his years in Kansas. So again, I think he's basically just going to be a Rudy Gobert adjacent, just not as good right now. So again, this draft pick doesn't really make sense to me. He's no Kareem in the paint, but he's an effective finisher, and he has that length that'll help him finish as well. Again, he can't really shoot that well. He's not a shooter, and placing him next to Gobert, who's also not a shooter, and Derek Favors, who's not a shooter, they don't have any shooting from the big man position, which it can really hurt them. But with that being said, he continues to put in effort and grow. Well, not really grow, but continues to put in his effort on both sides of the ball. I think he can become a better shooter since he is young. So that is Udoka Azubuike.
So last offseason, not this one, they had a really good offseason. They had a plan. They said we're going to get certified ballers on the team to help Donovan out. I don't think they had a plan this offseason. It doesn't look like it. They drafted a Rudy Gobert prospect. They signed, they re-signed, I guess, because he was gone for a year, Derek Favors, another backup center for a lot of money. They re-signed Jordan Clarkson with a large contract when I believe they could have got him for $6 to $8 million. The other $4 million they could have used on another shooter. They could have used on something else. I didn't really care for this offseason.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the rotation a little bit, though.
So this is actually not the starting lineup's not bad whatsoever. Michael Conley, if he can at least get to 85%.
I found this on the web.
Oh, sorry, that was my Apple Watch. Not a sponsor. I wish. That would have been cool.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, Michael Conley, if he can get back to about 80% of what he was in Memphis, he's going to be a huge help for Donovan defensively. If he can at least get back defensively, because there was a point when he was shooting like 31% from the 3-point line. That's terrible. He needs to be able to run the offense, control the pace, and give Donovan a better opportunity to score. That's a lot more less difficult because the year before that, Donovan's kind of playing the same way Giannis plays, where he's playing basically 3-on-1, where he gets to the paint and he has to do Dwayne Wade type of moves to get it in, or he has to shoot in front with a hand in his face a lot. It's really hard for Donovan, so I'm hoping Mike Conley can come back to form. Joe Ingles, fantastic 3-and-D, and actually Joe Ingles in the pick and roll as a ball handler is a really good ball handler at the pick and roll, because he not only can he score off of it and dink it to the big man, he can also pass it to the corner if he needs to. If the defense defense rolls to him and then the weak side defender goes to the big, he has a good eye for that rotation to send it straight to the corner. He's not bad. Bojan Bogdanovic, they're hoping that he's healthy all season, gives them another shooter, another scorer. Because while Michael Conley is good at playmaking, not the best scorer, Bojan it's going to be on him to score for them. Rudy Gobert is Rudy Gobert. In a perfect world, Rudy Gobert will work on his offensive game. I don't think that's going to happen. Derek Favors, we talked about him, and Jordan Clarkson. Nigel Williams-Goss he's just another rotational player. Royce O'Neal, I like him. He's a solid defender. Offensively, doesn't give you much, but he's a really good defender. And Georges Niang, 6'10", can shoot 3, can rebound a little bit. That's about it. So this team is predicated on a starting lineup. This team really only goes about 8 deep, maybe 9 deep. And unfortunately, I would trade, if I were them, I would trade for another playmaker, another bench playmaker, maybe like a Thomas Satoransky from the Bulls, maybe something like that. And then also maybe get another shooter, Wes Matthews from the Lakers, or JJ Redick from the Pelicans. Get another shooter and another playmaker guard, because Clarkson doesn't. You need someone that can run the backup unit and control that when Michael Conley and Donovan Mitchell are not on the court.
Yeah. So who would you trade? Well, I guess we could talk about that here in a minute, but when we get to the vibe check. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get there. So who would you trade when it comes to wanting to bring in one of those playmakers? Would that be a Derek Favors? Would that be a Rudy Gobert?
That'd be a pick. You'd probably have to give up a pick. Now, what I would do if I ran the Utah Jazz, what Reno Ramirez would do is I would trade Rudy Gobert for I would trade him to a team like Charlotte and get a bunch of young players, start Derek Favors because if you trade Rudy Gobert, let's say to Charlotte, hypothetically, I bet you can get Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and a pick. Or you can get Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and Terry Rozier if you send Rudy Gobert and a pick. So Terry Rozier is your backup guard, can play make, can defend, can shoot a little bit. The other night he dropped 50 or something like that. And then you have Miles Bridges, who's a 3. He's a high flyer who could shoot. And PJ Washington is a 4. And then you start Derek Favors at the 5. That's what I would do. I'd trade to a team that's young, that wants to win now, that has a couple of young pieces to move, that are willing to move. They have Gordon Hayward, they have LaMelo Ball, they have Devontae Graham. They don't necessarily need Miles Bridges. They don't necessarily need Terry Rozier. So I would give those at least Miles Bridges and Terry Rozier, at least those 2 pieces for Rudy Gobert. Actually, you would have to trade Scary Terry because of the contracts. I think that's the move I would do.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty difficult, though, for them. I mean, why would they sign him and extend him to just turn around and trade him? You know what I mean?
think, and this is my thinking for if I'm the front office, I'm trying to put my front office hat on, and this is what I'm thinking. So, a big issue when a star, he's not a star, an all-star wants to get traded or needs to get traded. A big issue is whenever a team gives the star team enough talent or picks or draft capital, whatever, they want to make sure they have that star for longer than a year. He's not a rental. So if you extend him, it makes his trade market a little bit bigger because whatever team trades for him will have him a lot longer. So they didn't waste all those young pieces, all those expiring contracts, all that draft capital for just a year rental. They have him for the long haul. Another team I like him going to is the Washington Wizards. The issue is Russell Westbrook's not a shooter, and obviously Rudy Gobert isn't. But the biggest issue is they don't defend at all, really.
Yeah.
So if you trade like a Thomas Bryant, maybe not Davis Bertans, but and a Rui Hachimura, maybe a couple picks or two, something like that. Troy Brown Jr. is a good pick or a good trade. So there's just a couple ideas right there. The best one would probably be Charlotte, though. Their vibe check, what I think they're going to do this year, though, I think they're going to perform really well. Now, the Utah Jazz, I have them 9th place in the West, just outside the Western Conference. Now, here's the thing with the Jazz. With the play-in tournament being set as the de facto way to get into the bottom couple of seeds in the playoffs, and with the Warriors having a Steph Curry injury away from being the worst team in the league again, and the Rockets having this Harden drama and this John Wall, is he back? Is he not? DeMarcus Cousins, is he back or is he not? Drama. And with Memphis not being as experienced, neither is the Pelicans, neither of those teams are as experienced as this team right here. This team can sneak into a 8th or 7th seed. They may not be just 9th seed. I think if everyone's healthy, I like the other two teams better because the best player on each team, Steph Curry, James Harden, better than this team, and I like Steve Kerr better with the Warriors, and I like James Harden doesn't miss playoffs. That's just, you're not going to see James Harden miss a playoffs. But one Steph Curry injury away from making playoffs, or just the Harden drama. You know what I'm saying? Like having that rookie head coach, bunch of question marks. So they could be a playoff team. And they're a tough out if they're fully healthy and they're running on all cylinders. A Bojan Bogdanovic gives you his 18 points a game, along with Donovan Mitchell. They're going to be scary. It's a good team.
Yeah. So that being said, let's go ahead and shift on.
Oh, great head coach. Great head coach, too. Quinn Snyder is amazing.
Yes, I agree. Go ahead and shift onto our 24-second shot clock. Yeah, I agree pretty much with everything you said. I could honestly see the Jazz being anywhere from that 9th seed, maybe even a 10th seed, up to maybe even a 6th seed, or
That's fair.
maybe a 5th seed. Maybe. I don't think
That's
necessarily
fair.
the 5th seed, but definitely 6th seed is, I think, their ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
which in the West, I mean, anything can happen. But yeah, that's kind of where I see them sitting at.
I think in the West, there's going to be 6 to 10 is going to be within 8 games of each other. And it's going to be who has the wins over who.
Yeah.
And so I think you're 100% right. I may have them too low, but in terms of on paper, the way I did these on paper, if they're healthy, if everyone's healthy, they play well. Mike Conley did not trend well last year. And that's the biggest reason why they were so low. He was supposed to be the second banana to Donovan Mitchell on the offense. He did not play well. Bojan was not healthy. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, they could be a 6 or 7 seed. I don't think 6. I think that's very unlikely. But 7th or 8th seed is very likely. And Donovan Mitchell, he's a baller. He is Dwayne Wade. He is the second coming of Dwayne Wade.
No, I love Donovan Mitchell. I'm a huge fan, and I'm excited because did he sign an extension or is he not up until next year?
Next year would be his extension year.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. He brings an energy to Utah that isn't necessarily there because it's Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Like he makes Utah fun, and I
sure.
think that he's gonna make a huge impact. I agree with the coach. I love him. He's gonna be great. yeah, I enjoy this team. They're fun to watch, so I'm excited to see what's going to happen moving forward.
One last thing, Donovan Mitchell's one of those players that the old hats of basketball, the old guys that played 20 years ago, love to watch because he has such a traditional game where he goes to the bucket no matter who's in there, and he does some sort of finishing moves the same way Isaiah Thomas did, the same way that Dwayne Wade did, the same way Allen Iverson did, same way all these Hall of Fame guards did. They didn't care who was in the paint because he knew his angles.
Yeah.
He had the strength to get in there, and they didn't. And I'm about to throw some shade at James Harden, but they didn't go into the paint to go to the free throw line. He wanted to cash out the bank. He didn't want to pull a loan and get it and pay for it later. He wanted to get the cash out of the bank right then and there. And Donovan Mitchell, he's fantastic, and he's an amazing defender.
Yeah, no, he's very underrated defender.
Yeah,
you really don't hear about his
he's strong
because of just how good his offense is.
Yeah,
and I mean, he was amazing in the bubble. He was going like him and Jamal Murray. Each game were right here.
And the difference was Jokic or Gobert. Granted, Jokic was the best player on the court, but the difference is Jokic or Gobert, and that shows you. Gobert is great, but he's also disappointing at the same time.
I don't think he can be a number 2 on a championship team.
I agree. But he gets paid like one.
Yeah. He
gets paid like one, and that's the issue.
Now, we'll see. How old is he? Is he old? I
don't know. I don't think he's old. I would guess he's like 28, 27, 28.
Let me see.
I better check out. That hat backwards on you kind of look like you have a do-rag. Oh. Yeah. You look like you're from the hood, brother.
He's 28. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see him progressing offensively. If he was going to do that, he should have already done that.
He's in the middle of his prime right now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he might, I don't know. He's big. Like he could I mean, he does what he needs to do, like you said at the top of this, but yeah, I like this team. I'm interested to see what happens. So thanks, guys. That was our take on the Utah Jazz. We hope you really enjoyed it. We kind of got a little carried away there. This episode's going to be a little bit long, but that's all right. We hope you guys enjoy it. With that being said, Reno, go ahead and take us out.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching Armchair Athletes. I'm Reno.
And I'm Ed.
And you just watched us talk about the Utah Jazz, one of the most boring cities in America. But thank God there's President Donovan Mitchell to make it more fun. Tune in for next video where we're talking about a team that's from the home of basketball. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Take it easy, guys. See ya.